So in this video, I will be showing you how I created this Photoshop composite. I will be showing you the Photoshop document that I used to create this and just going over my techniques and the process I used to create something like this. So this is the final product of how it turned out. So yeah, let's jump into the tutorial. Okay, so I started this composition by adding a photo of some clouds in the background. I duplicated that layer, added a blur to it, and adjusted the brightness to give it a more overexposed look. After I did that, I added a mask of a railroad. And as you can see back here in this area, I didn't mask it out perfectly, but I knew the most important area to focus on was the foreground, because that's what will be shown, up close. So we'll fix this part later. So I added a curves to make the railroad more bluish, because everything is up in the sky in this fantasy composition. Everything will have more of a bluish tint to it. So I raised the blue levels in the curves to give it that look. I masked out a photo of myself and placed myself in this project. So that takes a while to get that mask, especially if you have hair as weird as mine, like as crazy and ununiformed as mine. So after you get that in there, I also had to mask out my shadow separately from the image. So I masked out my shadow and put that behind me. The shadow the blending mode is on hard light, and the opacity is 48%. So with shadows and a lot of these assets here, it's important to play with the opacity and blending modes to get like a better result. So I added a mask, and I duplicated the background image again of the clouds, and I added some blur to this, and I used some cloning to cover up this area to make it more of a hazy kind of phase into the background look. Now I added more shadow where I'm sitting at and where my feet are resting at to ground me more into the space. It really helps to have like a darker shadow and have a shadow that falls off more. So that's what this is for. Now I added some contrast to myself to make myself pop out more, and I added clouds. Now these are all different cloud assets. Some obviously different sizes and different shapes. It's essentially just adding different clouds in different areas to symbolize depth in the image. So some in the foreground right here, some in the background, some way back here, which is kind of hard to see after against the background. And so those are the clouds, and the last element here is the curves to just adjust all of the colors of the whole project. So it's fairly simple, just is a lot of masking, and it takes a lot of time to get all of the masking right and correct. And it's just after you mask it, it's essentially just like knowing where you want to place your objects or your items or photos, and playing with the opacity and the blending modes to get something like this. So that's about it for this Photoshop compositing tutorial.